This is Coach Lee, and you're listening to The Door Report.
Let's win.
Woo! Cheese sticks, wings, and cinnamon sticks.
It's my kind of night. Hell yeah!
Every time I'm in the streets, I make the gun go.
Welcome back into The Door Report, and welcome into episode 337 on a lovely Tuesday evening, October 14th, 2025. I'm Will Byrum, joined as always by my co-host, Trevor Hulan, aka Hack Squat. Jim Duggan. Here at The Door Report, we are presented by 615 Collectibles. If you're into sports cards or sports memorabilia, check out 615 Collectibles on eBay. Items include individual cards, graded cards, team packs, and more. Shipping is always fast and free. Also, just a little bit of plug. TDR is looking for a new presenting sponsor. So reach out to us if you're interested or know anybody that is interested. We will rep your brand to the best of our ability. We would love to have you on board. Speaking of other sponsors, we are also presented by Rhoback. Rhoback Activewear. There is only one way to describe Rhoback. Best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rhoback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback has released so many items within their newly licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. It really is my favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and quarter zip designs for some of your favorite schools, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else in the market is pairing these levels of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Rhoback's everyday shorts or their Delta performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. They are both super comfortable, have an elastic waistband, and great fabric that is made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move. Rhoback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars, both past and present, and are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. You can use code VAN20, that is VAN20, VAN20, all capitals, no spaces, on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers through the end of the week. That is spelled Rhoback, RHOBACK.com. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with code VAN20. That is all for the advertisements. The rest of this episode is talking ball here on episode 337. Last week was strictly the Alabama recap, not kind of. And then we also discussed a little bit with our guest, Blake Froman, kind of what we have seen throughout the first 6 games of the season at the midway point. But we have a new game to preview, another top 20 matchup. Excuse me, getting some Phoebe hair in my throat as she's off camera over here. Another top 20 matchup for the Vanderbilt Commodores, this time at home, taking on the number 10 LSU Tigers. Vanderbilt now ranked number 17 in the AP poll, moved up 3 spots on a bye week. That's nice.
Win the bye week, dude.
Won the bye week. Almost back up to where they were ranked prior to the Alabama game, which was number 16. But Trevor, we also, after the cocktail break, we're going to still continue to maybe talk a little bit of football, but after the cocktail break is going to be a basketball roster sneak peek / preview. We have not really seen anything out of this team yet. I will be in attendance on Thursday night for the exhibition game against Virginia, so I'm going to save a lot of my hard takes on what's going on and my views on this roster for after I'm able to watch them actually in-game action. But there's a lot to update on the basketball roster movement front. That's just the state of college sports, specifically in college basketball. A ton of movement for this Vanderbilt basketball roster. And I will say a ton of movement, in my opinion, in the right direction for Vanderbilt. So, Trevor, we have a lot to get to here, but let's start with kind of the vibe check heading into this LSU game. Vanderbilt sitting at 5-1. LSU sitting at 5-1. Matchup that kind of sets the stage for the rest of the season.
Yeah, shout out to our boy Chris Phillips at SEC Unfiltered, who will be in attendance this week. And he texted Will and I, and he's like, is this the biggest game of Clark Lee's tenure? And I initially said no. I said I thought the Alabama game the week before was the biggest, but now maybe it's just because the game's getting a little bit closer. I'm starting to think this might be the biggest game of Clark Lee's tenure. However, just vibe check right now. I feel good, man. I've been chit-chatting with some of the staff, some of the coaches at Vandy football and asking, what the vibe is among the players, how practices have been. Obviously, Clark Lee today said in his press conference that last week they had a really, really, really good week of camp. Thought they came out strong, had fun, getting healthy. I asked one of the coaches today, what's the vibe amongst their particular position group and the players as a whole, and he said that they are locked in, that they're ready to dominate. So from inside the Vanderbilt football program, morale is high, good week of practice, good vibes. So that elevates my personal vibe. I'm going to go 8.1 out of 10.
And shout out to Chris Phillips. I'll be joining SEC Unfiltered tomorrow with Chris to talk a little Vandy football. But that question, I initially said no. And I still stand by no on biggest. Because last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever you want to call it, against Alabama was the biggest by national eyes and national attention.
Mhm.
That was the biggest. Now, most important, I think this is the most important game in Clark Lee's tenure. The Alabama game was, for lack of a better term, a house money game. It was you lose it, everything is still in front of you, even your lofty goals of going to the CFP. That is all still in front of you. With this LSU game, I feel like it's not gone if they lose to LSU, but realistically, winning out and going 5-0 during this last stretch, that's a tall task. So I think this LSU, to achieve those goals that they want to achieve, this is the most important, as Phoebe is eating dog food. Phoebe.
Hey, Phoebe.
Cut that out. All right. We have a locked and loaded, beefy episode 337. Before we get to all that and much more, we are now a part of the On3 Publisher Network. Visit thedoopreport.com today and subscribe to a monthly or annual premium membership and support TDR for access to premium content and our premium message board behind closed doors. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Door Report. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Our podcast is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts. And while you're at it, give our podcast 5 stars and a review on iTunes or Spotify, and subscribe to that YouTube channel. It's now time for segment 1.
Future's now, old man.
Welcome back into episode 337 of The Door Report, and welcome into segment 1. I have a little tickle in the back of my throat. I'm hoping I'm not getting sick or anything, but I might have to move away for a second on some coughs throughout this episode. So, Trevor, you're going to have to help me out a little bit.
I can.
I have written down Blake Froming. He's not joining us this episode. I forgot to delete that off of my notes here.
I think he's like out in the Maldives or something like that. He's out somewhere exotic right now.
Dude, him in any European country, he's got to be an absolute giant.
Oh, dude.
He's got to stick
Those
out.
tiny little Europeans are looking at him like, oh, what does it be? Come on.
Shout out to Blake enjoying himself with that lawyer money. Shout out to Blake. We have the LSU Vanderbilt preview to get to here in segment 1. Vanderbilt, of course, like I mentioned in the intro, sitting at number 17 in the AP poll. LSU sitting at number 10. I cannot kind of believe that I'm stating this right now, but Vanderbilt opened up as a 1.5-point favorite over LSU pretty much across all books, and that has extended out to Vanderbilt minus 2.5 pretty much across all books. I have a couple stats here that I screenshotted from Twitter. And I want to give the people credit that tweeted this out. Cole Kublik, starting out, says Vanderbilt has played 77 games for its top 10 teams since 1978. The LSU game Saturday will be the first time the Commodores have been favored in one of those games.
That's a crazy stat.
That is a crazy stat poll. And I think an even crazier stat poll is from Hunter McCann on Twitter, said, and, if I'm wrong on this or anything, somebody fact check me on this. I tried. I couldn't find anything that was different from this. Says Vanderbilt is a 2.5-point favorite against LSU this weekend. This is the first time Vanderbilt has been favored over LSU since 1948.
I didn't even know they had gambling records that went back that far.
And then says the Commodores had been the underdog in 51 consecutive SEC games prior to this. That might be the crazier stat. And I've seen that 51 games from more people than just him.
I'll ask you this because you're the gambling guy. And I know it's not a big line. Like, I know that 2.5 is not a big line. However, the Vanderbilt if you took away the gambling line, I think most people would look at the numbers beside each name and say, okay, Vanderbilt should be the underdog. LSU should be the favorite in this game. Is there something that Vegas knows in terms of LSU might be missing somebody? There might be murmurs behind the scenes that would be the reasons to why the line is like this? Or do you think the people in Vegas, as you've mentioned, are just, I guess, higher on Vanderbilt?
I don't want to definitively say either direction because, and we'll get to this a little more in the preview, Garrett Nussmeier clearly has some injury issues going on.
Yes.
I mean, you
that
saw,
he won't talk about.
Yeah, we watched the South Carolina game together, me and Trevor did. Clearly Nuss is not 100%. Even if it's just bumps and bruises and there's nothing severely wrong, every time he got hit, it looked like he was having to be picked up like a war-torn veteran.
Yeah.
Like he looked injured or at least hurt. And that could just be bumps and bruises. That obviously could be that, but something looks off with them. So I don't want to definitively say that it's not because of injuries or anything like that. But really, when you look at LSU, and we will dig it more into this, LSU's signature win of this season was over Clemson, week 1. Clemson was ranked number 4 in the country. We all know what has happened with Clemson's season since then. Clemson, obviously not the team that most people expected going into the year. They're sitting at 3-3 right now with losses to Georgia Tech, losses to Syracuse, as well as that loss to LSU. So really, when you look at what LSU has done, they've beaten number 4 Clemson, which that counts as a top 5 victory, even though they've gone down significantly in the rankings, similar to Vanderbilt beating number 11 South Carolina, who's obviously a little worse than anticipated. But really, their only other matchup against a decent opponent has been Ole Miss, and they got beat by Ole Miss on the road, 24-19. So I would say it's maybe the Nuss injury status has something to do with it, possibly, but I think generally it's just the rankings are what they are. LSU is taking care of business against who they should take care of business against. So it's not like they're going to plummet in the rankings, but is this LSU team really a top 10 team? Or are they more like kind of where Vanderbilt's sitting right now? Like realistically, should they be maybe more like 17-22, maybe more in that range? I think that's more what Vegas is seeing. And also Vegas is a little high on Vandy with the stats and where Vandy's sitting across or in the country with their statistics. And we'll get into that as well. I did not touch on it. The game kicks off at 11 a.m. Unfortunately, an 11 a.m. kick, but Vanderbilt is once again on ABC, just like they were 2 weeks ago against Alabama. So the eyes of the nation on a nationally televised broadcast, a chance for Diego Pavia to, for lack of a better term, redeem himself in front of the national audience in this game.
I will say I hate 11 a.m. kicks for home games. I will say, though, maybe I'm totally off base because this is not SOV. I think a home game against Vanderbilt at 11 in the morning favors Vanderbilt.
I agree.
That is the ultimate Vanderbilt. I don't want to call it a trap game because it's not a trap game, but it's just like in those moments, that's where Vandy kind of thrives.
I think that does nothing but help Vanderbilt because, I of course want to see that stadium with a lot of black and gold in it, but LSU is one of those fan bases that travels everywhere they go. And I think that stadium will be 60% LSU fans. Maybe that's negative. Maybe that's too negative, but that's what I imagine happening with the ticket prices you're seeing. That's what it seems like it's going to be to me. So I think an 11 a.m. kick helps Vanderbilt because there's not going to be that home field environment. And I think, Vanderbilt players and staff are kind of used to that at this point. It's going to take more than 1 6-6 season and a hot start at 5-1 to really revitalize this fan base. The diehards and the people kind of on that diehard fringe are going to jump back on board. But as far as bless you.
Sorry.
As far as that complete casual Vanderbilt fan that claims they're a Vanderbilt fan, they own Vanderbilt gear, but they don't have season tickets. This is not one of the games that they're going to pay the premium price for. If Vanderbilt would have beaten Alabama.
Which is a shame. It's a shame.
It's a shame. I'm not denying that, but I've been to a lot of Vanderbilt games, and I expect this crowd to probably be 60% LSU. And I think if Vanderbilt had started more like 4-2 or 3-3, I think it would have been 80% LSU. So I think the home side will be 80% Vandy fans. I genuinely believe that. But I think the visitor side will be massively in purple and gold. That's my take on the crowd, at least. And I think that's an over talked about thing. I don't give a shit about the crowd. Just win on the field. It doesn't matter. And I don't think this team's going to be rattled by that at all.
I will say, though, I do care about the crowd in this aspect. If you're a Vanderbilt fan, I know it's middle of October, the first SEC home game that we've had this season. If you are not on your feet most of this game, especially if you are not on your feet during third down on defense, so help me God, I will lose my mind. In my section does a wonderful job on third down. I'll stand up and I'll be like, get up, it's third down. But I see some people. I look over to my left in the other section. I see some people who won't stand up. So help me God, if you were in black and gold and I see you sitting down, I will find you and I will have a chat with you. I don't care if your knees hurt. I don't care if your back hurts. If it does, stay at home and let a 20-year-old go. Get up. Cheer for the boys. That's the only thing I have to say about the crowd.
The only thing that will bring you positivity is I only sit, 2 or 3 rows behind you, Trevor.
Yeah.
I'm up every third down.
Yeah.
You can vouch for me.
Hey, our section F brings the noise.
Section F does, and the guys behind me are fantastic. Everybody around us
People
is great.
man, they need to break up section. I saw somebody on the board say they need to break up section F and move some of the fans to other sections to rally the troops. No, because you need to take it upon yourself as a Vanderbilt fan to get the people up around you. You need to. It's not my job. It's your job.
Section F is the origin.
Me and Will are no different than you guys. I don't do anything special. I don't tase people. I stand up, I wave my arms, and I yell, get up. And when people don't get up, they get annoyed, and eventually they move out of section F. And they get replaced with somebody who will stand.
And I was doing this long before the podcast
Yeah.
when I was sitting in section J in the end zone. RIP to section J.
M for myself as well.
It did not affect me at all. Get up, get loud. What's the point of going to the game if you're just going to sit down? What's the point? Just watch on the couch. Stand up, get into the game, and it's going to be more enjoyable for you and everyone else around you. So Vanderbilt fans, our call to action, we say it every week, get up, get loud. Let's ride. Let's get to this LSU Vanderbilt preview. So I'm going to start. I'll start with just general LSU stats and individual players from the season. And then I'll go into what they did against South Carolina last week, because that's the common opponent that both have faced this season.
Yeah.
On the year, LSU, Garrett Nussmeier. That's the big name. That's the big name on offense. Quarterback Garrett Nussmeier, 135 for 204 on the season, 1,413 yards, a 66% completion percentage, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 134 passer rating. Been underwhelming this year, I think, to say the least. But you called it before the season. I was high on Nuss. You called it. He's looked injured all year. He's not looked healthy. He doesn't look like himself.
He's been injured his whole career.
And some guys are just like that. I mean, I don't know if it's anything specific. I don't know if there's anything specific going on. But if you
it's
watch
always
that South
his lower
Carolina
body.
game,
It's like I think it's either his knee or his ankle. But like, dude, like you said, that South Carolina game, he got up and he couldn't walk.
Yeah, I mean that's part of. I still think Nussmeier might be the best NFL prospect in the SEC as a quarterback when he's healthy. But like we always say, availability is the best ability.
Over Ty Simpson? Ty Simpson's slinging that pill right now.
Yeah. Okay, Ty Simpson.
Simpson's slinging it.
You're right. Yeah, Ty Simpson. It's just I'm thinking more our rankings and things before the season.
And
I know.
So,
But yeah, Ty Simpson. Yeah, you're right about Ty Simpson. But a lot of times, like, college performance is not necessarily what I'm looking at when I'm saying best NFL prospect. I'm not saying the best performing quarterback. That's clearly Ty Simpson in the SEC right now is the best performing quarterback. But getting to their running game, LSU has not had a lot of success in the ground game thus far this season. Caden Durham, their leading rusher, 67 carries, 283 yards, 2 touchdowns, a 4.2 yards per carry average. Backup running back, never mind. Backup running back Harlem Berry, 26 carries, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. Getting to LSU's receivers. I was a little bit surprised when I saw this. Leader in receptions is who I expected. That is Kentucky transfer Barryon Brown, who Vanderbilt fans and SEC fans should all be familiar with.
Nashville people in general.
Yeah, very talented receiver. Is not their leader in pass yardage or reception yardage. 27 catches for 261 yards, 1 touchdown, just averaging 9.7 yards per reception with a long of 19 yards on the season. Kind of shocking.
Very shocking.
Their leading receiver is actually Aaron Anderson, 23 catches, 305 yards, no touchdowns. And then they do have a talented tight end in Bauer Sharp, 16 catches, 190 yards, 1 touchdown. Also, Xavier Thompson, a talented guy, 15 catches, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. Is Xavier Thompson the 6'7" receiver?
He is.
Okay, that's what I thought. No, he's not.
Is he not?
No, who is their 6'7" guy? I don't want to misquote this and don't want to leave him off the preview.
I'm unaware of who you're talking about.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe I'm dumb.
I mean, their tight end, he's like what, 6'5", 6'6"?
I don't know. Maybe I'm confusing teams here. It's been a long bye week, and I'm a little out of rhythm, but so be it. On the defensive side, this is where LSU has vastly improved. Vastly. And we'll get to some numbers that show that in a second. Whit Weeks still leading that LSU defense, once again leading the team in tackles with 40 total tackles on the season. Probably, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, probably the number 1 defensive player in the country with the most name recognition is Whit Weeks. Am I right or wrong? I mean, you have some guys like Dylan Stewart with South Carolina. You have maybe more talented NFL type guys, but as far as just random name a defensive player from a random Big Ten fan or random SEC fan, Whit Weeks is probably one of the biggest names, if not the biggest name in college football. And a lot of that has to do with the Netflix documentary.
I would say in the SEC, definitely. Let me think about nationwide, though. While you continue on, I'm going to ponder that.
A.J. Halsey at safety, very close to Whit Weeks in total tackles, 39 total tackles in the year, as well as 1 interception. Deshaun Keys, another linebacker, 31 total tackles, half a sack, as well as one pass defense on the season. Tamarcus Cooley, 31 total tackles as well as 2 passes defensed and 2 interceptions. That's kind of the leaders on that LSU defense as far as tackling leaders. Actually, I misread that. West Weeks is the leading tackler on LSU's team.
Yeah, the brother.
Yeah, the brother. I'm sorry. I completely misread that. LSU fans, you can properly roast me if you're listening to this. Whit Weeks actually 28 total tackles on the season, or 26 total tackles on the season, 1 sack. So he also throws up every single game. I don't understand what's going on with that. But as far as their team totals, I wanted to bring this up. I dug into LSU stats from last season where they ended the season. This was according to ESPN and Sports Reference. And then I used team rankings for LSU's current year stats, which of course does not include their FCS opponent. So take that for what it is. Last year versus this year on defense. Last year's LSU defense gave up 24.3 points per game. This year, LSU is giving up 12.2 points per game.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. Total yardage. Last year, LSU was giving up 364.4 yards per game. This year, 316. But I think the most drastic and craziest difference, this is like, I don't know how to phrase this properly, but it feels to me very rare that you see a team kind of stay in the same caliber that they were the past season and completely flip where their strengths and weaknesses are.
Yep, I agree.
Last year, LSU's defense was below average in the country. This year, LSU's defense, so far at least, is elite. Last year, LSU's offense was top of the NCAA, one of the better offenses in the country. This year, very below average offense, not a good offense thus far this season. In fact, has not scored more than 20 points in a game against Power 4 opponents.
Yeah.
It's kind of a crazy
It
stat.
is. What a strange turn of events for. Shout out to Blake Baker, man, their defensive coordinator. I was not a believer in him last year. I wrote him off too quick. He's a hell of a defensive coordinator, man. He's really, really good.
Yeah. LSU's offense this year. Last year, LSU averaged 30.9 points per game. This year, LSU is averaging 19.8 points per game. And once again, this is excluding their FCS opponent. Total yards per game. Last year, LSU was averaging 431.5 yards per game. This year, 343.8. Third down conversions last year versus this year. Last year, LSU was converting almost 50% of their third downs, 49.2%. This year, LSU is converting 36.5% of their third downs. So it's been a complete flip of the script for this LSU team. Last year was, damn, if this defense could just stop anybody. This year is, damn, if this offense could just put up points. And it's kind of weird to see that and watch this team that's just, they're struggling on offense.
Yeah.
Last week was the first time that I watched them in a full game against South Carolina, and we all saw Vanderbilt's offense against South Carolina. South Carolina is a solid defense, but it's nothing spectacular.
Dude, Dylan Stewart had his way with that LSU offensive line, and we'll get into that a little bit more. I remember whenever we were doing our preseason and we got to the LSU game, and I was like, guys, I don't know. The reports out of LSU's fall campus that their offensive line is Swiss cheese. And I don't want to, because he's not here to defend himself, but Blake said, he's like, well, LSU's offensive line standard is different. Like, they're bad. It's still probably pretty good. And I'm like, I don't know, dude. It sounds pretty bad. And to this point, their offensive line has been horrible in pass pro and run.
Yeah, and to get to where LSU sits in the country as far as their offense, I did last year versus this year, but that 19.8 points per game, this is all according to teamrankings.com. LSU is sitting 104th in the country in points per game versus Vanderbilt is averaging 42.8 points per game, sitting 4th in the country. LSU, that 343.8 yards per game, that's 90th in the country. LSU has also just not been running the football a lot. They only run the ball 43.5% of the time. That is 118th in the country. But their pass game has not been incredibly efficient at all, even though they're throwing the ball quite a bit. They're completing the ball about 63.7% of the time. That's 54th in the country. Yards per pass, 6.6. That's 92nd in the country. Their offensive line, even though you just said that, has been protecting the quarterback decently well. They're only giving up 2.79% of dropbacks as sacks. That is 16th in the country. Vanderbilt on the other side, only giving up sacks on 1.95% of dropbacks. That is 6th in the country. Now on the defensive side of the ball, LSU has just been stifling. That 12.2 points per game given up for their defense is 4th in the country. So you have the 4th ranked scoring offense so far on this season in Vanderbilt, going up against the 4th ranked scoring defense in the country. That is going to be a fascinating matchup to see how those two teams or two groups match up against one another. LSU has been good basically against the run, and they've been good against the pass. Opponents are averaging just 3.3 yards per carry against this LSU defense. That is 19th in the country. Vanderbilt is averaging 6.7 yards per carry. That is number 1 in the country. So you have a top 20 run defense, and you have the number 1 rushing offense in the country. Throwing the football, LSU is only giving up 5.9 yards per opponent pass attempt. That is 15th in the country. Vanderbilt is averaging 8.4 yards per pass attempt. That is 27th in the country. So you're getting kind of a struggling offense versus Vanderbilt's offense has statistically been one of the best in the country versus an LSU defense that has statistically been one of the best in the country. And then you have a very average Vanderbilt defense, and Vanderbilt's defense is obviously not doing very well against the pass, but overall Vanderbilt is giving up 22.6 points per game. That is 43rd in the country. However, their pass defense still not sitting great. They're still almost giving up a 70% opponent completion percentage, sitting at 122nd in the country with 68.3% completion percentage against Vanderbilt. So it's going to be about creating discomfort for Garrett Nussmeier and this LSU offense. That's kind of the gist of what I wanted to get across with these stat polls. So that's the stat overload of this game.
Yeah.
Anything you want to add here, Trevor?
I do. I have some interesting stats as well. And I was teasing Will beforehand. I was like, dude, I've got a hell of a stat poll that I don't want to share with you until we get on pod. So stay tuned for that. But just some basic stuff. Like you said, LSU in total offense is number 12th in the SEC. In total offense in the nation, they're number 77th. In terms of EPA and advanced analytics and defense, they're about top 20 in everything. Now, EPA on offense, EPA per rush, they're 116th in the nation. Not good at all. EPA per play, they're number 41 in the nation. Not great at all. And just once again, to hit on their rushing attack, when they do, they don't rush the ball a lot, like you said, but when they do, they are bad. Man. Their success rate when rushing the ball is 126th in the nation. Now I'm going to flip over their defense, and this is where I find it interesting. I think LSU's defense is very good. However, I think we need to look at their defense within context of who they have played thus far. So LSU has played Clemson, La Tech, Florida, South Carolina, and Southeast Louisiana. and Ole Miss as well. I don't know if I mentioned them or if I did not. Now, I'm going to break this down in terms of total offense per opponent. Ole Miss is the number 5 total offense in the nation. Really, really good elite offense. Clemson is the number 54 total offense in the nation. Louisiana Tech is the number 120th total offense in the nation. Florida is the number 99th total offense in the nation. South Carolina is the 121st total offense in the nation. I did include Southeast Louisiana. They are FCS, but in FCS, they're number 32. So if that was FBS, they'd be like 400, even though there's not 400 teams. So when we average this out, this LSU defense is good. Statistically speaking, they're good. But when we average it out, their opponent's total offense would be 80th in the nation. If you took out Ole Miss, who's number 5, their opponent's total offense is 98.5 in the nation. So I want to put it into context. I'm not saying that this LSU defense is overrated. I think they're good. What I am saying, though, is I think they might be a little overrated. You look at their stats and you say, man, these are really good defensive stats. You look at who they played, though, and you're like, ooh, you're facing bottom 100 offenses most of the time. If Vanderbilt played bottom 100 offenses most of the time, I would imagine Vanderbilt's defense, statistically speaking, would look a lot better. And in terms of how Vanderbilt faces an offense, it's like you said, in total offense, Vanderbilt is the number 19th team in the nation. So other than Ole Miss, this will be the best offense that this LSU defense has faced. I do want to make one more note. In that Ole Miss game, best offense they've faced, Ole Miss only scored 24 points. They did have 109 yards worth of penalties, but in terms of yardage, Ole Miss had 480 yards on offense. They went up and down that LSU defense. So the defense is good. I'm not buying stock in that LSU defense right now, though.
You're willing to say they're good, but not an elite defense right now. We got to see more.
You got to look at who they're like. Christ almighty, guys. Like, they were like, man, they really shut down Florida. Florida's almost 100th in total offense in the nation. Louisiana Tech's 120. Like, I mean, we got to put it in context.
I mean, people constantly like to talk, and justifiably so, about the gauntlet ahead of Vanderbilt. That's not exclusive to Vanderbilt. That's most SEC teams across the conference. Coming up for LSU, they have at Vanderbilt versus number 4 Texas A&M, and then at number 6 Alabama. Yeah, that's a gauntlet in front of LSU. I think those numbers are going to change after these 3 games. I think they're still a good defense. They're still vastly improved from what they were last year defensively.
But they're not a top 25 defense. When this season is over, they will not be a top 25 defense.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Are you ready to get to keys to the game / keys to victory?
I am indeed.
All right. Would you like to go first or second?
I'll go first because, once again, my first key to the victory is so chalk, and I'm definitely probably stealing one of yours. Vanderbilt has to run the ball. Every down, for our audio listeners, Will just gave me the bird. I warned him. I said I was going to take one of your keys. Vanderbilt has to run the ball. There is no, I don't care if Vanderbilt totes the rock and they're only averaging 3.2 yards a carry. Bash your head into a wall, because you will wear out this LSU front and you will dominate time of possession, and you eventually will get those big yardage plays that you're looking for. I think they're going to have to use Diego. They're going to obviously have to use the 4-headed monster in the backfield. To win this game, Vanderbilt is going to have to bang their head into a cement wall, Cam Scatterbo style, and tote the rock all game long.
Yeah, that is one of my keys, but I'll save that. I'll see if I can think of another one. That's not my number 1 key, though. My number 1 key, and I already read off the sack percentage stats, is you have to get pressure on Garrett Nussmeier. You have to make him uncomfortable. LSU has a talented wide receiver group, including Barryon Brown, who scares me quite a bit. Can remind me quite a bit of Ted Hurst with Georgia State, that Vanderbilt might just not be able to cover, especially with Colby Taylor kind of rehabbing that injury or whatever is going on that we all saw at the end of the Alabama game. you have to get pressure on Nuss. And that's a little bit different even than just get pressure, like the blank chalk way of getting pressure. I think Nussmeier, regardless of what it is injured and does not want to take hits. I think if you can get pressure on him, not knock him out of the game, you can make him extremely uncomfortable and get him out of his game because he's not healthy. He's just not. I don't care what the media official report says. I watched the South Carolina game. He's hurting. And there's no bye week after that South Carolina game. He's going to be sore coming into this Vanderbilt game. So get pressure. Vanderbilt has done a decent job. Not a great job getting to the quarterback. Vanderbilt is 29th in the country. That's pretty solid in sack percentage as a percentage of dropbacks, getting sacks on 7.69% of dropbacks. So Vanderbilt's done a pretty solid job of that. LSU does not have a good ground game. That's not what they're looking to do. So you got to make Nussmeier uncomfortable, and that's my number one key to the game. That will disrupt their entire offense.
Yeah, and I'm going to play off you a little bit. We went over it earlier. You went over your rushing stats. I went over the rushing stats that I have. LSU does not like to run the ball, and when they do run the ball, they're not good. So if I'm Vanderbilt, if I'm Stephen Gregory, my second key to victory is you make them run the ball. Do not stack the box. Keep a light box. Drop everybody in coverage. I know that it's going to be at times frustrating because you want to get aggressive. Now, there obviously is points in the game to where it does warrant getting aggressive. You can't be super vanilla and just give him time to dink and dunk you down the field. But I'm dropping everybody in coverage if I'm Stephen Gregory. I am making LSU run the ball. I'm making LSU beat you by running the ball. I think if that's the case, I think Vanderbilt can win handedly.
Yeah, my key number 2 is, this isn't really a chalk one, but this has kind of 2 parts to it. So number 1, I want to read off the stat that I thought was fascinating from Cam Mellor at Cam Mellor on Twitter. Said best third down avoidance percentage in FBS on offense. Vanderbilt is number 1 in the country at avoiding third downs, only having third downs on 15.4% of, I guess it's like sequences. I don't know the right phrase there.
It would technically be 4-down sequences.
Yeah, 4-down sequences. Vanderbilt's number 1. Guess who number 2 is? Tennessee.
Yeah.
The state of Tennessee is good at not getting in third down situations. But what Vanderbilt needs to do and what my key is they need to win third downs against LSU. When you look at Vanderbilt's offense, Vanderbilt is converting 56.25% of their third downs. That is number 2 in the country. LSU's defense is good at stopping opponents on third down, allowing opponents to only convert 34.6% of third down opportunities. That is 37th in the country. So that's good versus good. On the other side, LSU is only converting 36.5% of their third downs on offense. That is 93rd in the country. Vanderbilt's defense, not so great at getting teams off the field on third down. Vanderbilt's defense is allowing 39.44% conversion on third down to opponents. That is 71st in the country. So you have good versus good, and you have meh versus meh on the other side. So Vanderbilt needs to win the third downs, and they did not do that against Alabama. So they need to do that against LSU.
Yeah, I totally agree. My third key to victory is you're going to have to run. And this is Vanderbilt's base offense. So you know they're going to do it. But I feel like they sort of went away from that option game versus Alabama. Vanderbilt is going to have to utilize that and keep LSU's linebackers on their heels. So whenever I was watching the LSU Ole Miss game, whenever Trinidad Chambliss was scrambling, he had those LSU linebackers in hell. They could not figure out, do we protect the run? Do we protect the pass? Okay, he's scrambling. What do we do? And they got all out of position. I think that's Diego Pavia and Tim Beck's bread and butter, is taking those linebackers and those shallow safeties and then just putting them in a tizzy. Vanderbilt's going to have to do that this game. Keep them off balance. Utilize Diego in the run game. Utilize the backs within that RPO game. Keep those shallow safeties and the Weeks brothers really, really, really confused because I'm not sure they have great gap integrity whenever they've got to pick and choose 3 different ways.
Yeah, my third key is what you said is your first key, and it's very simple. It's simple, and we both have it for a reason. Vanderbilt has to establish the run. numbers be damned, whatever it is, LSU's defense is stronger in run defense than they are in passing defense, but Vanderbilt's bread and butter is running the damn football. And Vanderbilt needs to establish the run. Vanderbilt cannot have 6 total carries to their running backs. That cannot happen. I don't know how that happened in the first place against Alabama. That is absurd. I know we hit on it a lot last episode. I can't get over how insane that stat is. That Vanderbilt ran the ball to their running back 6 total times. That cannot happen against LSU. If they have single-digit carries to running backs against LSU, they will lose. That will be a loss. That cannot happen. Tim Beck has to figure out a way to utilize this talented and deep running back room. It just has to happen. So Vanderbilt, like you said, even if it's beating your head into a concrete wall, Cam Scatterboo style, they have to run the football against this LSU defense and tire out this linebacker group that I agree with what you said. Very talented, very, very talented. I'll repeat it twice, but I'm not sure has the best gap integrity, especially against a complex scheme like what Vanderbilt runs. Get back to the option game, establish the run game. And then Vanderbilt's going to need to capitalize on that through the pass game. They need to get back to what they do. That Alabama game felt weird. That was not the Vanderbilt offense we've watched for the past, 18 games, including the bowl game. That looked like a completely different offense to me. So get back to the basics, keep it simple, stupid, establish the run. And if Vanderbilt can do that and pick up between 3 and 5 yards per carry, Vanderbilt's going to win this ball game. That is our 3 keys to the game. Do you want to get to predictions now?
We'll get to predictions.
Let's ride, baby.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll keep it simple, stupid. I think this Vanderbilt team is good. I think this LSU team is good as well, but I just think this Vanderbilt team's better. I really do. In Nashville, 11 a.m. kick, coming off a bye week. Vanderbilt, even after a loss, is still, riding with some real tempo, with some real juice. And there's a lot of question marks surrounding LSU internally and externally. What are you going to do with Brian Kelly? They're not exactly happy with the offense. What's going to go on? So at the end of the day, man, I think I think they get the job done. I think Vanderbilt takes down LSU. I'm going to go Vanderbilt 27, LSU 13. I think the Doors get a what's the word? That whenever it's like not in doubt. I'm blanking. It's been a long day.
I don't know exactly what you're going for.
Resounding win? I don't know.
That's good.
Resounding win. Yeah, get a resounding win.
I'm sure that's not the adjective that was proper, but I'm getting what you're going for now, but I can't think of what you're going for.
Oh, yeah, it's been a long day.
Long day. This is not the biggest, not the most eyes. This is the most important game in modern Vanderbilt football history. This is the game that Vanderbilt can go from, Vanderbilt's good again this year. They're a damn good team again this year. Look, they're ranked. They're ranked in the top 20. That's awesome. This can take that kind of, I don't think it's a cute story anymore. I think you're seeing a lot of hate, but this can take Vanderbilt to a legitimate CFP contender. That's what this game can do. An 11 a.m. kick, I think, favors Vanderbilt. I think this LSU defense is good, but I think they're slightly overrated. I think this LSU offense is struggling. I think they definitely are, and I don't see anything changing after a kind of gritty, hard-nosed game against South Carolina last week. I think they're going to be banged up. I think Vanderbilt had a great bye week to get things back on track. A lot of film to learn from against Alabama, and if there's one thing that we have seen from Clark Lee coach teams with this current staff in place is they know how to bounce back. I think Vanderbilt wins this game in a slug-it-out type of game, 24-17. I think Vanderbilt takes down the Tigers. They're favored for a reason. Vanderbilt is every bit as good and as talented as this LSU team, if not more. I think that might be part of the reason this line is what it is. If you watch that Alabama game against Vanderbilt, 2 turnovers in the red zone are what doomed Vanderbilt. There was not a vast talent discrepancy across the board by any stretch of the imagination. Anybody that watched that game did not say, man, Alabama looks so much better than Vanderbilt. That's not what it looked like. Alabama won the game. They won the game. However, Vanderbilt also kind of lost that game for themselves. At home, getting back home, the bye week is huge for this Vanderbilt team. It's in the perfect time. I think Vanderbilt gets it done 24-17. And also to add a little bit of credence to my prediction, I am 6-0 this year so far.
Yeah, you are.
I will say that. So
before we get to our next thing, last thing I'll say, If Vanderbilt wins this game, come Sunday, are they a top 12 team?
I think it's hard to say no to that.
Are they a top 10 team?
That's where it gets hairy. I think they will be in that 10 through 12 range.
Depends on what happens to Tennessee or Alabama in that game.
I think that vastly would. Yeah, I think it when you get to the point where Vanderbilt is, this win would elevate them 4 to 5 spots by default. A top 10 victory.
Agreed.
Now, to get into that upper spot and where Vanderbilt's sitting, once you hit about the top 15, you're relying on what happens in front of you more than necessarily what you're doing.
Yeah, no,
So
I totally agree.
think it's going to really depend on how things shake out. And there's a lot of big matchups. You got
A lot of
Ole Miss,
top
Georgia.
15
You got a lot
matchups.
of big matchups. So it's going to depend on how that stuff shakes out. Vanderbilt could be a top 10 team. I think realistically, in my mind, if they're able to win this one, they're sitting about number 11. And by God, holy shit.
Mean, dude, my butthole pucker just thinking about that, dude.
But I don't want to sound overconfident.
Think about that for a second.
Nothing
man.
about this is, as much as we talked about it, and I'm sure if LSU fans listen, they'll take grievance and offense. Nothing about this is like LSU is overrated.
No,
That's not really what I'm saying. But I think they are I think this is what we've seen. NIL, while it has destroyed parity across Power 4 to G5, it has created so much parity within Power 4 conferences. I mean, there is just not this gap between teams anymore. Even when you watch like Tennessee, Arkansas last week, Arkansas fired their coach. The talent discrepancy is so much lower. They talked about it on the broadcast during the Georgia game. They don't have that depth anymore because the transfer portal has killed that. You can't just stockpile 5 and 4 stars anymore like these top tier programs used to do. They're going to leave and go to another Power 4 program, make the same amount of money, and be a starter. It's the talent discrepancy. When you just hear Vanderbilt, LSU, you just automatically assume that across the board, regardless, Vanderbilt might have put together a good roster, but the talent discrepancy is still going to be there. That's just not the case. I mean, you go position by position. I think Vanderbilt's O-line is just as good or better than LSU's. I think Vanderbilt's running backs are better than LSU's. I think Vanderbilt's tight end better than LSU. I think Vanderbilt's quarterback better than LSU.
Yeah.
I think wide receiver, LSU has a slight edge, but it's close. I think linebacker, very even. Very even.
Give me Vanderbilt's.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with that. I think, it's very close. I think safeties, maybe LSU has a slight edge, but it's very close. I think corners, LSU has an edge. I think defensive line, very even. This is just a very even game. And I think that's more what I'm hitting at is you're a little more confident with the 27-13 prediction, which I'm not disagreeing with necessarily. But I think this is just one of those cases of two very evenly talented teams. And Vanderbilt has the favor of coming off a bye week and 2 weeks to prepare versus LSU is coming off a hard-fought victory over South Carolina. And they're a little bit banged up. So I'm taking the doors. Trevor's taking the doors. I'm 6-0 on the year. Trevor's 5-1.
Yeah.
So that's about all we have for the LSU prediction. Come out to Lot 2. Chris Phillips and SEC Unfiltered will be out there. We will have some breakfast stuff ready to go, trying to work that out, what we're going to do. I think we're looking at chicken minis from Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I talked to Miller today. He's going to be doing breakfast as well. Miller will be doing breakfast, and so I'm sure breakfast.
We were talking
chicken minis and
donuts,
and
muffins, mimosas. We'll do all that. Beer.
I'll bring me a 12 or some Pabst Blue Ribbon.
But it's going to be a great time out there. The early kicks are always interesting because we're out there so damn early. But it's going to be a great time in Lot 2, and we're going to have a great time. So everybody, if you sold your tickets, shame on you.
If you sold your ticket, pardon my French, fuck you. If you're a Vanderbilt fan and you sold your ticket, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, you're not.
I mean that.
You're not a real Vanderbilt fan.
You're not a friend of mine.
No. So we are going to go to the TDR cocktail break, and then actually, let's do premium message board questions that relate to football. Almost forgot about that because after the cocktail break, it's going to be basketball. So anybody that's interested in Vanderbilt basketball, stay after the TDR cocktail break. That's going to be, we'll see who wants to stay. But basketball season is approaching quickly.
Yeah.
First game of the season is in 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Against Lipscomb on November 3rd.
Against my beautiful herd.
Yeah, and Lipscomb is down this year.
Yeah,
They
lost everybody,
they lost a lot.
including Mr. Acuff.
Yeah, they lost a lot. And this Lipscomb team was they're a historically good program. We don't need to talk basketball.
They're not historically good.
They're a historically respectable program. Lipscomb Belmont so my dad went to Belmont.
They've only made like 2 NCAA appearances.
Yeah, but you can't. Mid-major is so tough because Belmont.
I don't know. I love Lipscomb. I wouldn't put them up there.
I mean, this is the thing with mid-major. Before, up until recently, it was basically you had to win your conference tournament or you couldn't get in.
Yeah.
Even if you were the number 1 team during the regular season, that's what kept killing Belmont. Is they would be the best team in the ASUN every year and would lose in the tournament, and they just got no looks.
I mean, historically, if you want to go battle at the Boulevard, historically, Belmont has ran Lipscomb's pockets.
That's true. My dad will love hearing that.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Steve.
No, he would love hearing that. He's a Belmont guy.
I know. I know. It's just every time I saw Mr. Steve last year, I'd be like, "You ready for the battle of the Boulevard?"
Mid-major basketball, unfortunately, that's something that has been slightly killed.
God, I love mid-major basketball.
But that's been the big negative of NIL, I will say. More than anything else has been the destruction of mid-major basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you saw Florida won with a bunch of mid-major transfers last year.
Yeah.
I mean, Belmont should have been one of those teams that was one of the mid-major programs that's a top 7 seed. I mean, is what it is. They had 3 guys transfer to high major programs. All right, getting to premium message board questions. Thank you to everybody that submitted questions. We love reading them and responding to them. I will do my best to separate these out because some are basketball, some are football. GLH4VU says the LSU defensive line got pressure on 72% of plays when they didn't blitz against South Carolina. Do you think this means our offensive line is maybe the most important position group to Vanderbilt being successful this week?
Yes, but I think Vanderbilt's offensive scheme will help mitigate that in terms of how they get Diego out of the pocket and how much he's on the move. Lenora Sellers last week was not running around a lot. And whenever he did run around, he had success. So I think yes and no. I think it's both. I don't know if that feels like a cop-out answer. But.
It's also like South Carolina's O-line's not that good.
Yeah.
That's also part of it. I mean, we talked about that going into the South Carolina game. That was a major storyline. So, yes, this is where like the keys, you can't just be basic on every key, but by default, the offensive line playing well is a key to every single game, even though it didn't include that. Like the offensive line has to do their part. It's a war of the trenches.
Yeah, I mean,
that's where the real ball game is played.
It's one of the, if not outside of quarterback play, it's like the most important key to victory.
Yeah,
every single game.
And quarterback play relies on the offensive line doing their job as well.
Exactly.
GLH4VU also has a basketball question, which we will take after the TDR cocktail break. Didn't forget about that one. Another basketball question. Then we have Kodak Black and Gold with the TDR picks of the week. The over-unders.
Yes.
Trevor is currently 6-6. I'm 4-8 because honestly, that Alabama game played out nothing like I anticipated. So I was very off on my picks last week. These are brutal lines. I'm not going to lie to you. Game picks. Game total over under 49.5.
Under.
I'm going under as well. It's going to be close. That's a very accurate line. First half money line, Vanderbilt / LSU.
Christ, I hate these. I never bet these in real life. Give me Vanderbilt.
I'm going to go push.
Okay.
Leaning Vanderbilt. So if he wants to do a record thing, I legitimately can see this game being tied.
Yeah,
at halftime,
definitely.
But I'll go Vanderbilt to give a definitive answer. Total turnovers, Vanderbilt plus LSU, over under 1.5. Over for me. I think LSU's defense is going to force Vanderbilt into at least 1 turnover. I think Vanderbilt's defense is going to force at least 1 turnover.
Yeah, I'd go over as well.
Player props. Here we go. This is where I was horrifically wrong last week because the Alabama game just was so different than I expected. Pavia, over under 210.5 passing yards.
Under.
I'm going to go over.
Ooh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
Pavia, over under 1.5 sacks taken.
Under.
I'm going over. I think they'll have 2 sacks exactly.
Okay.
If I had to predict. MK Young, over under 3.5 carries.
Over.
Damn, that's a good line.
I think Tim Beck learned his lesson.
I'm going to go over 2, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be between 3 and 5 carries for MK Young. Alexander, over under 2.5 receptions.
That's a good
It's a
line.
good line
too.
again.
That's a great
These
line.
lines are
Dude,
brutal.
is this guy a bookie?
He might be.
This guy's
might be a secret
good. Dude,
bookie.
Kodak Black and Gold is good. Oh, God. Give me the over. Give me the over.
I'm going to go over just because I think they will watch film and Pavia will see how many times he missed the back out of the backfield.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go over just because of that. Lassiter, over under 6.5 scrimmage yards.
Over.
I'm going to go over, but I can also see him not really getting many touches again.
Yeah.
Richardson, over under 41.5 receiving yards. Another great line.
Gosh. I think Tim Beck learned his lesson again. I'm going to go over.
Man, that's tough.
That's a good line, dude.
I'll go under just to add some split, but I hope it's over.
Yeah.
I want it to be over, but I think it might be under. I can see him having like 38 yards receiving. Stowers, over under 18.5 longest reception. It's another line. Oh my God.
Under.
I'm going over.
Oh, I hate that. I hate that.
Stowers, over under 1.5 catches on third down. Over.
Oh,
I'm going over.
God, give me the alt line on that.
Brock Taylor, over under 6.5 kicking points. It's a good line too.
Dude. I think with my final, I think is it 6.5?
Yeah.
Ooh, under.
My prediction,
I think with my prediction, I think that would be the under.
my prediction would be 6, but just to split it, because I can fully see multiple field goals, I'm going over.
Okay.
So either my prediction will be more correct or I'll get that right. Man, those are incredible lines.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Just perfectly set. Perfectly set. World's Strongest Vandy fan says, apologies for my absence last week. Heavy things needed to be lifted.
Hell yeah.
Number 1, goodbye, James Franklin. Hope that one extra win a season was worth it, you pretentious douchebag. I will say,
I love it.
I get it. I also was celebrating over the firing of James Franklin. He will be a head coach of a Power 4 program next season.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was a genuine mistake by Penn State. I understand why they did it.
Mhm.
I fully understand why they did it. James Franklin, historically, his reputation is he can't win the big one.
Mhm.
Can't win the big game against a quality opponent when you have completely even talent or they're slightly less talented than the opponent. He gets coach circles around. And he's always been able to win the games he's supposed to win.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, he's not winning the games he's supposed to win. I get why they fired him.
Yeah.
I think in 5 years, Penn State's going to look back and realize that was a mistake.
Especially if they hire Matt Rule.
Yeah, especially if they hire Matt Rule. Now, if they're able to steal Cignetti away from Indiana,
There's
good decision.
good decision.
But guess where Cignetti was born?
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
I think we can get onto that topic at a later time. I love these types of discussions. I think there is 0% chance Cignetti leaves Indiana for Penn State.
I don't know if it's 0%. I don't know much about Cignetti's affiliation to Pennsylvania besides he was born there. I'm afraid it's one of those situations for Indiana where it's like there is one job that he would leave for, and it's that job. But also, in the modern era, there's just when you have similar resources.
That's what I'm
where
saying.
It was so
yeah.
different before. He's got it made in Indiana.
Yeah. Like, are we sure? This is going to sound crazy. And I asked my homies this, and they're like, dude, you're being an idiot. I'm like, I don't think so. Are we sure that Penn State is a better job than Indiana right now? With the way
in the
Indiana
new
is
era.
spending, I'm not sure it is.
That's a tough question.
Shout out to Tom Fernelli for that. I totally agree. I'm not sure Indiana is a better job than Penn State right now.
You mean Penn State is a better job than Indiana?
Pardon me. Yes.
And then number 2 part to that question was, how does he get fired before Derek Mason? Stock still ain't so bad now, is it, Middle Tennessee fans?
Well, Derek Mason, it's crazy he got fired before Hugh Freeze, Billy Napier, and Luke Fickell. Those are all 3 guys that I thought would be fired well before James Franklin got fired. Which also leads me to believe, now that the Penn State job's open, in order to get ahead on the coaching searches, I wonder if those jobs will open up soon. because it's a race at this point.
The Penn State, I get why they fired. I
Yeah.
totally understand the logic. I just think it's one of those things where you're seeing things through a short season lens versus seeing it through the long term. I just think these high major programs in the NIL era are still stuck in the past of who they're going to be able to acquire. I think it's going to be Matt Rule.
I think it's going to be Rule
After
as well.
digging into it. And I don't know if he's an upgrade over James Franklin.
He's not.
Exactly. Okay.
Oh, no.
He's not. I don't think he is.
If
And
I'm Pat Kraft, Penn State's AD, I'm making one phone call and one phone call alone. I'm calling Matt Campbell. Nobody has floated that name. I am calling Matt Campbell. And I'm giving him whatever he wants.
The last part, and there's a basketball question in this, but the last part that relates to football from World's Strongest Vandy Fan is Tennessee Tech currently the best college football team in the state of Tennessee? 6-0 and counting. Shout out Wings Up, number 7 in the country in FCS football, and they're going to beat Kentucky.
Yeah.
They're traveling to Kentucky, I believe, on November 18th.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out, Wildcats. That is a damn good Tennessee Tech football team. I don't have the stats from after this week when they beat Charleston Southern and had their worst performance of the year, but still beat Charleston Southern. Prior to that, Tennessee Tech was averaging 56.5 points a game and were the number 1 offense in the country. Tennessee Tech's damn good this year. Phoebe, you're kind of in my space here.
Come on, little one.
Come be with Papa.
Kodak Black and Gold asks, do you think a field storm is warranted with a win Saturday, even though the Doors are favored? Per my research, Vandy is 3-89 against top 10 teams. No.
This is the dichotomy of TDR. I am pro field/court storming whenever, so I will say yes.
Okay. I'm not opposed to it in this one. My issue with field storming, there was one, and I wish I could remember it. Oh,
Was it Colorado's recent field
Yes.
storming? Where,
I was like, dude, that is not a field storm worthy win. I love field storms. I'm not that guy. I love field storms. I also love court storms. When you're a top 20 team playing a top 10 team as a home favorite, do you storm the field? I don't know.
Here's the thing, dude. If Vanderbilt was number 1 in the nation and they just beat an 0-11 Tennessee team, I'd be like, storm the field.
Peter Porker responded and said, I don't think so. Not only are we favorites, but we're not massive underdogs anymore. This is a new era, and we should embrace being a quality program capable of beating anyone. That's kind of –
yeah.
And also, it's not like LSU's a juggernaut this year. It's not like they're number 1 in the country. It's not like you're beating the equivalent of Ohio State.
I will say, too, I think, even though I am pro field storming, I think if we storm the field for this one, it would take away from that Alabama field storming. Does that make sense?
That Alabama field storm was special.
Greatest day of my life.
Poor Vandy fan 615 said, if we win in Neyland, let's storm the field there.
Yes.
LOL.
Yes.
VU Daniels, who started, by the way, the over-under prop bets.
He did. Yes.
He says, bro totally stole this prop bet idea from me. Remember you said I must have went MIA. I ain't gone nowhere. I mean, you can have it, but if I come up in another idea that's fun, please leave it alone.
I will say, shout out to VU Daniels. Kodak Black and Gold has got these lines on lock, dude.
Yet another Door lawyer says, I think although the easiest thing to point out is the hype surrounding Nussmeier, parentheses, even if he hasn't lived up to it this season. I'm more nervous about their defense as they seem to have revived it after it's been truly awful the last couple of years. I'm sure you'll talk about it some during the preview, but what specific matchups do you think we need to exploit if we are going to win the day?
Yeah, I mean, I said it earlier. I think it's those linebackers and their gap integrity and their run pass option.
Yep.
I think it's as simple as that.
And then how much of an advantage is it to be a coach that previously worked closely with another coach, Clark Lee being Brian Kelly's former D coordinator?
Do you think that stuff's a little no, that's a great question because that always got brought up anytime Saban would face somebody who was from the Saban tree. However, I think that might be a little bit overblown in general.
I mean, you might know how his mind works, but he's not running the same stuff. It's different players. And sometimes I think it almost works to your disadvantage because you think you know how they think, but they're implementing a whole new scheme. And it's a game of chess.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it might be overblown sometimes with that. I don't know if it creates an advantage, but it's certainly not a disadvantage.
No.
I just don't know if it matters that
Well,
much. in the grand
it's an
scheme.
interesting thing to look at.
It's an
as well.
interesting storyline for sure. Kodak Black and Gold said it's really not that deep. In response, we're reading drama onto the podcast here. For
Board
Premium Message
beef.
Board. Come join the board. There's fun drama.
Yeah, dude.
Pavia Mafia said, "Is Brian Kelly the SEC football coach you would least like to drink a beer with at a Lot 2 tailgate?" No, that is Hugh Freeze.
Give me Hugh Freeze over Brian Kelly because I know that Hugh Freeze wouldn't try to kill me. I mean, Hugh Freeze might pull out the burner and call some folks, but he wouldn't tell me to get on a lift at 50 mile an hour wind. I'll say that.
Brian Kelly killed a kid.
Right? Yes. The fact that we just like, it gets brought up as a meme. It's not funny, but it's
not funny at all.
It's not funny at all, but it's like this. He should be in prison. Am I crazy here? I don't know. I'm not.
I don't know
lawyer.
about prison, but
He should have
had some repercussions more than just moving on with his life. I don't.
Yes.
I genuinely, I'm not trying to make this about
This
that.
isn't not being light. It's insane.
Don't know how I would live with myself after that. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's crazy to me that's just like it's only ever brought up by like burner Twitter accounts. They just don't talk about it on anything.
Why does no journalist ever been like, hey, we should talk about this more?
Like they have absolutely no problem talking about players getting arrested and players doing stupid things. That was insane.
Oh yeah, we'll kill a Georgia kid over speeding.
Yeah,
but
over
Brian Kelly
over a reckless driving. We'll just absolutely rake him over the coals. But Brian Kelly sending a kid onto a scissor lift in dangerous winds and him dying after
and we just don't talk about it.
And just Brian Kelly's just the coach. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
But yeah, I'd go Brian. I wouldn't want to have one with Josh Heupel. I would love to have a beer with Mark Stoops.
Mark Stoops.
There's something about him because I know if I got him liquored up enough, dude, he would just go on the most crazy right-wing QAnon conspiracy theories I'd ever heard in my life, and I just want to watch his brain work.
There are actually like a decent amount of coaches that I don't have a genuine problem with. Actually, Sam Pittman, he's no longer a current SEC coach, but that's maybe my number one.
I would love to have a beer with Sam.
GLH4VU agreed with me and said Freeze takes this one for me. I don't like Hugh Freeze. I would say that to Hugh Freeze's face.
No, if Hugh Freeze was in our living room right now, I'd be like, Hugh Freeze, I hate you.
I don't
respect you as a human.
He's a mega church preacher coaching college football, and everything out of his mouth is not genuine. You can feel it. I can feel it in the pit of my stomach. GLH4VU said, I'm sure you've hit on this at some point of the show, but fuck James Franklin. What are the chances he's coaching the SEC again? High.
I actually, before this pod started, I go, Will, you want a hot take on where I think James Franklin lands? Auburn's going to fire Hugh Freeze, and I think James Franklin's going to be the next head coach of Auburn.
I said I could also see him being the head coach of Florida, but then you brought up a good point that's like Lane Kiffin.
But then if Ole Miss opens up, does he go down to Mississippi?
I think
who knows?
I think there's a very good chance James Franklin is coaching the SEC next season.
I agree.
I think if the betting odds are, I think the betting odds would be like minus 1,000 that he's coaching at a Power 4 program next year.
Yeah.
I think the odds of what conference he's going to be coaching in, I think the odds on favorite is the SEC next year. And I think you're probably close to right about Auburn, especially if they keep trending how they're trending, sitting at 3-3.
They would become how Auburn will become even more hateable is bonkers to me.
Unabridged, in response to that field storm, he says, in my opinion, there needs to be history for a field storming to be warranted. It's not like we have a history that's any different than any other SEC teams that have beat the shit out of us for the last 80 years. Plus, we are favored. Storming the field as a favorite would be dumb.
Unabridged, I do disagree. Have you ever heard of the story of Jerry DiNardo, Blake's former coach? Do you know what LSU did to us when they stole sweet Jerry DiNardo from us in the middle of the night? There's history there.
There's a lot.
Also, Camarion Pimpton. Brian Kelly stealing Camarion Pimpton. Where the hell is he? He's like Texas.
I'm not going to read all.
He's at TCU now, I think.
There's a lot of discussion about the field storming situation and then more back and forth about the stealing of the over-under idea. We love the drama here. Not a question, but a statement from Black Knight Door. It says, make Paint It Black our song. Both football and hoops. Great intro song or hype song late in game.
Yes. Beautiful idea. I see a red door and I want to paint it black.
Yeah, I was going to play it, but then we're going to get demonetized from YouTube. I'm reading if this... Yep.
It'll go... The money will go to Mick Jagger's 75th kid.
Yep. Sylvan Park Door says, irrelevant comment. I don't feel like this has been spoken about enough, but remember when Clark Lee hired Beck after his first choice was the now LSU offensive coordinator, Joe Sloan?
Oh, God.
Sloan hasn't been that productive as a play caller. Think of what kind of position Vanderbilt football would have been in had Lee made that hire. I'm going to assume an awful position without Kill, Beck, Diego Stowers, etc. More importantly, get to the bank on Saturday, stay late, stand on your feet, and cheer on the Doors like it's the biggest game of all time. Looking forward to sharing some great moments with the Vandy Nation this Saturday as the first win over LSU in my lifetime. Love that.
Yeah, shout out to Sylvan Park Door. I totally forgot about that, dude. We all were clamoring for Joe Sloan.
Yep.
And
I'm so happy we got Beck.
Hindsight is always 2020, but Lord have mercy, thank God we didn't get our way.
And then one of our favorite responses, never misses a week. The Common Man's Commodore 95.
Yes, yes, yes.
Dearest Mother, the troop has regained the thirst for victory after a brief hiatus from the battlefield. Tears stream down the face of the enemy as the sun rises on our homestead. The Doors are ready to strike first to remove the somber feelings that remained after the Battle of Tuscaloosa. The new enemy battalion has been referred to as Tigers, but after this weekend, we shall have these pussies with tails tucked between their legs and back to the bayou where they came. Lot 2 and the Doors will host Philly C, who aim to showcase their recent achievements and improvements on our grounds. I have no fear that he shall intake numerous libations and celebration will be had. As for the Tigers, a fight is what they came for. A fight is what they shall receive. As always, anchor down, Admiral C. Dude, they're getting better.
How is it? Also, I love the word libations.
Libations,
dude.
Electric. Add that to the graphic. Libations,
dude. This weekend in Lot 2, it's gonna be 8 a.m. I'm gonna be like, I need more libations.
Add that to the Lot 2 tailgate
instead
graphic.
Of beers, going to say libations.
Yes. Beautiful. Scott Reed, I'm not sure I've seen him post a question before. I could be wrong. Says, who is the X factor for the offense against LSU? I would let Lassiter eat a couple of screens, a couple off tackles, get him in space. I will be in the bank. Go Doors. So who is the X factor?
Can I give two?
Yep.
I'm going to go Trey Richardson. My second, give me Caleb Barnett.
I'm going to go Trey Richardson. Even though I took the under, I want to see the over happen. I think his lack of involvement was shocking in the last couple of weeks, specifically against Bama. I mean, Junior Sherrill's obviously the best number one wide receiver. He's a true wide receiver one. Trey Richardson has to be involved. That's another thing I'm looking for. He needs to have at least, regardless if it's not in the route tree, you got to get him involved in jet sweeps, on screens, get the ball in that guy's hands. He's absolutely electric. I like the Caleb Barnett too.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last question. That's not basketball from 256 Door says, I feel good about our defense's ability to stop the LSU run game. Parentheses, we have a pulse, which is about all it takes, I'm pretty sure. Into parentheses. And I think we are better against the pass this year. But to me, this is a big game for the pass rush against not great LSU offensive line. This might be obvious, but do you agree affecting Nuss will be a key to controlling the flow of the game? That was my number one key to the
absolutely.
Game. That was my number one key to the game.
Might be the most important key into the entire game. Yeah, I totally agree.
And it's more like Nuss is clearly uncomfortable. Like, regardless of hurt or injured, I think you classify those two things differently. He's uncomfortable, and getting hits on him early will get him out of rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
Very few players, and this is not a shot at Nuss. This is 98% of players. When they are hurt, it severely affects their game. That's every player. That's 100% of players. Screw what I was just about to say. You saw Pavia the last half of the season last year, and Pavia's is as tough of a son of a bitch as they come. And you clearly saw last year, the last 6 games of the season, he was not the same quarterback.
Yeah.
He had to play differently. You saw it with John Mateer against Texas.
Yeah.
He had to play differently. When you are hurt/injured, getting hits on the quarterback early, that's going to be the key to disrupting this LSU offense. So that's a great comment there and a great way to close out segment 1. Everybody out there, grab yourself a delicious ice cold or warm beverage, and we will be right back after the TDR cocktail break to talk some Vanderbilt hoops. Welcome back into episode 337 of the Door Report. We just previewed Vanderbilt's upcoming top 20 matchup against the LSU Tigers at home at First Bank Stadium at 11 a.m. Broadcast on ABC, nationally televised. Me and Trevor gave our 3 keys to the game, previewed the game, and also gave our predictions. Trevor, remind the people what your prediction was again.
27-13.
Mine was 24-7.
That was right. I already forgot my prediction. Yeah. Okay.
So not too far off for either of us. But in the second half of this episode, as we're coming off a bye week, and normally it goes preview into recap, we're going to take this opportunity to do a quick basketball roster preview. I don't know how long this will be because really I'm saving a lot of my genuine opinions on this team. I already have a lot of preconceived notions about what I think this team is going to look like. But Thursday night, Vanderbilt is having an exhibition game against Virginia, which has some interesting twists to it with fan involvement, as well as they're going to be playing 12-minute quarters versus the traditional 20-minute halves. But I think I'm going to be able to learn a lot about this team just watching them play. And it's not going to be statistically. I'm just going to learn a lot seeing these guys play against another high major opponent. So I'm not going to provide too many hard opinions on these guys. I'm just generally going to run through the roster. Me and Trevor are going to give our thoughts as well as answer premium message board questions. So this could be a pretty quick segment too. It's already been a relatively long episode. We'll see how long it goes. But I mentioned it early in the episode during the intro. Vanderbilt tips off its season November 3rd, quickly approaching against your Lipscomb Bison.
Yeah, the herd.
Home. The roster, just like every sport, but specifically basketball, a ton of turnover on this Vanderbilt basketball team that ended up being a 10 seed in the NCAA tournament before losing in a kind of gut-wrenching fashion to St. Mary's to end the season. But year 1 of Mark Byington exceeded expectations. I would say drastically exceeded expectations. I don't think anyone expected Vanderbilt. Well, it was obviously maybe in a higher tier of expectations, but I don't think people expected Vanderbilt to be a true at-large NCAA tournament team in year 1 after following up what Jerry Stackhouse had done to that roster. But it shows the power of the transfer portal. And Mark Byington is a hell of a recruiter and truly showed how little of a shit Jerry Stackhouse gave.
Yeah.
That's more of what this is emphasized to me. Mark Byington, he was a great hire. I want to get this out early. Mark Byington was a great hire. We were positive on it when they hired him.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like Mark Byington was this slam dunk home run. Vanderbilt's going to be this is a slam dunk hire.
Yeah. It wasn't a Will Wade hire.
Yeah, exactly. What he has done is just showed how awful Jerry Stackhouse was and how he was genuinely not putting in the time. And it just showed what a competent head coach can do. And we'll see what Mark Byington can do because there's a lot of turnover on this roster from a team that made the NCAA tournament. But I think Vanderbilt has done a solid job replacing it. So I will start out. Should I start with guys returning or guys that are leaving?
We'll go leaving because it's basically all of them but 3.
So out. A lot of guys. Karis Bilal was a freshman. Didn't play very much. He's out. I don't think he ended up anywhere.
Didn't play at all, did he?
I don't think he ended up anywhere either. I can't find a place he transferred to.
Oh, really? I haven't kept up with
if you can find it or if anybody out there can find it, I Googled. I didn't dig in too deeply because it's not that deep. Jason Edwards, gone to Providence. Vanderbilt's leading scorer from last year. Not a guy you really wanted to lose, but the amount he was demanding, it was a lot.
Yeah.
MJ Collins transferred to Utah State, number 2. Grant Huffman lost to graduation, number 4. Grant Huffman, the white, solid defensive guard, not a great scorer. Graham Carlton, big contributor, lost to graduation, blue guy. Jordan Williams transferred to Rice, another guy that was maybe one of those forced out kind of transfers, similar to MJ Collins. AJ Hogard lost to graduation. Alex Hemingway, who didn't play last year due to injury, lost to graduation. Holman Smith, walk-on, lost to graduation. Jalen Carey transferred to Tennessee. Let that sit for a second. JQ Roberts, power forward, transferred to Davidson. Chris Magnon lost to graduation and now in some capacity with the Lakers. I'm not sure if he's on like a 2-way contract or what exactly that situation is, but I shout out to Chris Magnon.
Yeah.
Awesome to see him succeeding. And then Kajani Wright, another guy that did not play, no longer on the roster.
Yeah.
So that is all of the guys leaving. That is a lot. Let me count them out. I wish I would have done a number. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 guys gone from this roster. That's normal in college basketball now. That's completely normal. That's not ringing alarm bells by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Now you have players returning. 3 key contributors returning. That is point guard / shooting guard Tyler Tanner, really a point guard. I expect him to take a huge sophomore leap for Tyler Tanner. This is where I get to finally clarify my take on Tyler Tanner because I got a lot of hate for it. I'm not an anti-Tyler Tanner guy. What I have seen, I think he's going to be a hell of a ball player, maybe at some point the best player on this Vanderbilt roster. I was just saying the amount of minutes he was getting as a freshman didn't make sense to me. Especially once you realize this team was a legitimate NCAA tournament team, it just felt like at times as many plays as he made that were highlight plays, he couldn't shoot.
Yeah.
And he would get burned occasionally and bodied because he was a smaller, skinnier freshman. And it's going to take time to put on weight. And it's just, if you're going to choose a guy at the point guard position that's going to get bodied by who he's guarding, and Tyler Tanner was good if it was a smaller guard, but you're going to take Jason Edwards, who's a way better scorer. So I am expecting Tyler Tanner to make a hell of a sophomore jump here.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a key contributor. Also bringing back Tyler Nickel, sharpshooter on the outside, awesome guy to bring back.
Yeah.
And Devin McLaughlin is back, the best power forward / center they had last year. He is back, and I expect him to be a key contributor. You also bring back Colson Messer and Miles Keefe, 2 guys that are not really going to see the court, but you know.
Unless they play Alabama, then Miles will see the court.
Now to the bringing in. Need to take a sip of a drink here because this is going to take me a while to run through this list. And Trevor, feel free to jump in whenever you want if you have opinions on these guys. This isn't like a full roster preview or anything. We just want to get all this information out because basketball season's sneaking up on us, to be honest. Need a sip of my beverage real quick because my mouth is already getting dry and there's a lot to talk about.
He needs a sip of some libations. Ooh, yeah, that hit the spot. I'm going to start doing ASMR whenever you take sips or cough, dude.
All right. Here we go. I already said Vanderbilt lost 13 guys. They brought in a lot of guys. Mike James, North Carolina State transfer. However, he missed all of last season with injury. Really, all of these stats are going to be pulled from his prior career at Louisville. Missed all of last season with injury. He's more of a small forward / power forward guy, 6'7". He's a 3-point shooter. That's what he does. 12.6 points per game, 5 rebounds, 1.5 assists per game as a redshirt sophomore at Louisville. High percentage 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
Solid get.
Yeah.
That's going to be a theme with a lot of these guys. Vanderbilt prioritized shooting because at times that was the struggle last year.
Yeah.
They just didn't have enough scorers.
Vanderbilt having
shooters.
sharpshooters is back.
Yep. Getting to a guy that is not a sharpshooter, actually, which may be one of the most key transfers they picked up, maybe the most key, Frankie Collins.
I love this guy.
From TCU, 6'1" point guard. I have written down here, which is what he is, a Hogard replacement. He's basically the guy that's coming in to fill that role of AJ Hogard. Everybody knows kind of the takes we had on Hogard last year. Didn't really live up to the expectations by any stretch of the imagination. Expecting Frankie Collins to be quite a bit better.
If you guys aren't familiar, I know we are focusing strictly on the offensive production. Please, guys, please, whenever you have time, go back and watch Frankie Collins highlights or just TCU games and watch him on defense.
Hell of a defender.
Vanderbilt with Frankie Collins and Tyler Tanner, whenever they are on the court together, Vanderbilt will have, and I don't know about the rest of the SEC's roster construction, but I'd be willing to say Vanderbilt would have one of the best defensive backcourts in the SEC. This kid is stick-em on defense.
And I forgot to add this context, and I'll continue going down the roster construction, but Vanderbilt did a damn good job in the portal.
Very good.
Right now in the Ken Palm rankings, Vanderbilt is sitting at 19th in the country heading into the season, even though they're not getting respect from the AP. I think in the others receiving votes, Vanderbilt's sitting at like 32nd.
They're also top
so.
25 in Bart Torvik's top 25 as well.
Vanderbilt did a really good job in the portal. I don't want people freaking out over 13 departures. That's certainly not what we are doing here.
Every other basketball service, like you said, Ken Palm, Torvik, all of these guys, except for some reason the AP voters don't keep up with basketball like they don't keep up with football. All of these guys who strictly keep up with basketball have Vanderbilt as a top 25 preseason.
To be honest, man, this is one where I'll maybe give a slight excuse to the AP voters.
Just because there's so many teams.
The movement in college basketball makes the movement in college football look like nothing.
Yeah.
It's basically every team turns over almost their entire roster every single year.
Yeah.
And that was the case a little bit with the elite programs during the one and done era. But now it's everyone.
Yeah.
It's just like, even like, you just don't have guys like MJ Collins stick around anymore.
That's a good point.
Like, MJ Collins was by no stretch of the imagination a bad player.
No.
Like, no Vanderbilt fan would say that. He was the guy that would have stuck around. Now he's at Utah State because they just could slightly upgrade 10%. And they're like, all right, man, you don't have a scholarship sitting around for you next year. Is what it is. After Frankie Collins at TCU averaged 11.2 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, 4.4 assists, and like you said, great defensively, averaged 1.9 steals per game. Him and Tyler Tanner are going to be fiends.
Please, I'm begging you guys, watch a TCU game and watch Frankie Collins on defense. I'm begging.
Vanderbilt also brought in Duke Miles from Oklahoma, a 6'2" shooting guard type guy, started all 34 games for Oklahoma last year. 51.4% shooting from the field, 43% from three. Very efficient scorer. That will be a theme across a lot of these players that Vanderbilt brought in. Averaged 9.4 points per game, 2.5 rebounds per game, as well as 2 assists. Another good pickup, another efficient scorer, and a shooter from behind the three-point line. Vanderbilt also brought in Tyler Harris, a 6'7" small forward / power forward from Washington. 27 starts last year for Washington, averaged 11.8 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, shot 49.5% from three, and had 20 games in double figures. Another efficient sharpshooter from the outside.
This is I don't want to call it way too early because the season starts in less than a month, but my preseason prediction is Tyler Harris will be the MVP of this team.
Hard to disagree with you from there. If these efficiency numbers, and a lot of these are from other high major programs, if these efficiency numbers can transition over alongside Tyler Nickel, who's a sharpshooter of all sharpshooters. I mean, he's the best shooter on this team still. If that can transition, this team is going to be deadly from the outside. Getting to George Kimball III, not an efficient scorer. In my opinion, I have written down the Jason Edwards replacement on this roster. From Eastern Kentucky, 6'2" point guard / shooting guard. He was second team All Atlantic Sun Conference last year, 18 points per game, volume scorer. 3.7 rebounds per game, 3.2 assists, 2.6 steals. I think a slightly better defender than Jason Edwards, but kind of a similar game when you go back and watch his highlights. Shot 38% from the field, 35% from three. Very similar to Jason Edwards.
Yeah.
He's a volume scorer, and you need a volume scorer on a roster because oftentimes volume scorer gets associated with like inefficiency. And if you dig into like analytics, sure. But every possession when you have a shot clock, there's going to be a guy that has to take the tough shots.
Yeah.
And that was Jason Edwards for Vanderbilt last year. That is going to be George Kimball this year for Vanderbilt. If everything plays out, I'm going to know a lot more after the Virginia game.
Yeah, I think too.
He was a big get.
You mentioned him on defense. I think it's sort of like what our poster said on the board. It's if somebody has a pulse, they're probably going to be better than LSU on offense. And if somebody has a pulse, they're probably going to be better than Jason Edwards on defense. I also too think George Kimball, a pretty substantial height change from Jason Edwards.
Yeah.
He was listed at what, like 5'11". That kid was not. I stood next to him. I'm 5'11". I'm not one of these guys like I'm 5'11", but I say 6'1". I'm 5'11". I towered over Jason Edwards.
I am a very good judge of what people's actual heights are.
He might have been 5'8".
Because it's the same. He got the Pavia treatment on the height. Because I actually got into arguments with some sassy nurses at my last appointment with my neurologist. And they made me take off my shoes and get measured because I was like, I'm 6 foot. And they were like, no, you're not. I know you've been told you're 6 foot. And I was like, I am. I promise I'm 6 foot and 1/8. People are just not used to seeing an actual like dead on 6 foot guy. So I took off my shoes, got measured, 6 foot and 1/8. So I'm a very good like barometer of where guys sit. And I stood next to Jason Edwards. That man is not 5'11", just like Diego Pavia is not 6 feet tall.
And Diego Pavia is taller than Jason Edwards.
Yeah, by a little bit. Jason Edwards was like 5'9", maybe.
Yeah,
maybe
on a good day.
Yeah. Next up, AK Okereke.
AK-47.
A transfer from Cornell, small forward / power forward at 6'7", had 28 starts for Cornell last season. He led the Ivy League in field goal percentage. Theme of this, like I said, efficient scoring outside of George Kimball. 59.5% from the field last season. Granted, a lot of that was inside the arc. 32.1% from three. So a decent three-point shooter, but that's not really his game. 13.9 points per game, 4.6 rebounds, 4.1 assists, as well as 1.5 blocks, 1.5 steals per game. Another solid piece.
Yeah, his recruitment was fascinating. I thought he was going to be a slam dunk for Vanderbilt. It seemed like he was a slam dunk for Vanderbilt a long time. Then he wasn't a slam dunk. Then it seemed like he was a slam dunk for Stanford. Then he was no longer a slam dunk for Stanford and was a slam dunk for Vanderbilt. So his recruitment was very interesting to follow.
It's very funny, like following some of these guys that are clearly extremely smart guys.
Yeah.
And valuing what degree they end up getting from what university, because he's going from Cornell and then was deciding between Stanford and Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
It's like, that's a smart guy.
I want to say, too, I want to remind everybody, whenever it came to the transfers and the breaking the news and the scoops, me and Alex Kurbakov literally outscooped everybody.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there were other people who would see our scoops and say, oh, that's not right. I have different information. Turns out we were right. So I say that not to brag, but I was very much on the AK scoop train in the following. His recruitment was a dizzy of a recruit. It was crazier than Jason Edwards. Jason Edwards.
That was crazy.
If we ever do a Patreon pod, I'll go on and I'll tell about the Jason Edwards freaking saga. That was bonkers.
Shout out to On 3. They've been nothing but great to
Yeah.
us. But if we ever are lost from On 3 and they decide to part ways, that's not going to happen. Not what I'm saying. We will start a Patreon pod that's behind a paywall, and you'll get some of the detailed inside information that you get on the behind closed doors message board, but we just don't talk about on the pod.
I was fixing to say there's some stuff on the board that we can't talk about too.
Yeah.
So like if something ever
Hey,
happens,
subscribe to thedoorreport.com today. You can subscribe for just $1 with an annual membership, and you get a subscription to The Athletic for a year. Best deal in sports. We're about to hit the home stretch of SEC football, and we're about to hit basketball season. And then you have baseball season. We have the best in the biz in Alex Kurbakov covering baseball. This is the time to subscribe to thedoorreport.com. Support what me and Trevor do. Support the team behind us. George Barclay, been killing it with our Boston George. There's nothing
Fromang
better.
Forensics.
Yeah, if you like what we do, I understand money's tight, and if you can't, you can't. But please subscribe to thedoorreport.com. It helps us out a lot.
You know what? He's not at Vanderbilt anymore. Screw it. On this week on the board at some point, I'll detail the Jason Edwards saga.
Awesome.
I was like just thinking like, why can't I say it now? He's gone. I'll detail the saga. It was crazy.
All right. Detail that on the board. That'll be great. Next up, two big men are the final two transfers Vanderbilt brought in. Highly recruited guy, Jalen Washington out of North Carolina. Fascinating guy that I think could go either direction on this roster. He's maybe the most, I don't know the right phrasing for this. He's the player that I'm most curious about and how he's going to be utilized.
Yeah.
6'10", power forward. He's not really a center, power forward, very bouncy guy, like very athletic, but he's not a big body. He's 6'10", can really run the floor. 5.7 points per game last season, 4.2 rebounds, 59.4% field goal percentage. Obviously, almost all of that, he's not a three-point shooter. It's not what he does. He led North Carolina in blocks last season with 30. Really good defensive player, really bouncy, good rim protector. but he's not a big body. He's one of those guys that could be the key to Vanderbilt winning games, or he could just really not be involved. It's going to be very interesting to see how he works into that rotation. And then the final one of the most important pieces of this entire transfer portal class, maybe, I won't say the most because I think that's Frankie Collins.
Yeah.
But one of the most important is Mason Nicholson from Jacksonville State. Power forward, really a center, 6'9", big body. I've already said about the Jason Edwards replacement, the AJ Hogard replacement. This is the Jalen Carey replacement. Big body. I just want to repeat that. 25 starts last season for Jacksonville State, 7.5 points per game, 7.4 rebounds per game. We talked about Vanderbilt being undersized last season. That is not going to be the case this season.
Yeah,
with
that's
Jalen
also something they
Washington,
addressed. Yeah.
Mason Nicholson, Devin McLaughlin. Mason Nicholson is a big body that is going to be a nightmare for teams to deal with on top of the shooting proficiency that Vanderbilt brought in the portal. As far as freshmen, there's no part of college athletics that has been more de-emphasized than high school basketball recruiting at this point. Maybe high school baseball recruiting. Maybe.
I was gonna say, dude, Mark Byington's killing it in recruiting.
He's doing
right
well
now.
in it,
Top
yeah.
10.
He's
top
doing
10
well.
class.
But in this class, not a very highly rated class for Vanderbilt.
No.
As he was bringing in a lot of guys in the portal. Chandler Bing. I don't have any details on these guys. I don't think any of these guys are going to be real contributors this year, to be honest. So I'm just going to kind of glaze over them. Chandler Bing, the one funny little detail on Chandler Bing, has never seen Friends, according to VUCommodores.com.
Yeah.
So
I've never seen Friends either, so that makes two of us.
it's a good show.
I'm
It's
not a sitcom guy.
It is the most 90s sitcom you can possibly imagine. It's like a warm Thanksgiving dinner. If you're expecting it to be funny, all right, I'll give my Taylor Swift, Shane Gillis some credit. If you're expecting it to be like Tires, or you're expecting it to be like The Office, it's not what Friends is. It's just a 90s sitcom that obviously got the world in a tizzy during that
Never
time.
saw the Friends. Never saw Friends. Never saw The Office. Seinfeld.
Dude, you have to watch Friends.
Growing up,
not Friends. You have to watch The Office.
Growing up, dude, I watched so much ESPN and MTV and the History Channel. That's all I watched.
Dude, you have to watch The Office.
That's all I watched.
I guarantee you will like The Office.
I remember just being like, I remember it would be on and I would be scrolling through, like surfing the channels. It's like, oh yeah, The Office. I don't know what that is. I'm going to go watch Ancient Aliens on History Channel.
Go to Peacock, watch The Office. Have you seen Parks and Rec?
No.
Okay. Well, The Office is better than Parks and Rec. It's dry, funny, but it's my favorite comedy of all time. Not going to lie to you. I've seen it conservatively 125 times.
Do you think I'll get more hate for not have seeing The Office or
Yes.
not liking sushi?
You got a lot of hate for not liking sushi.
I did. That's crazy. There's something, I'll say this.
I had sushi last night.
I don't like the raw sushi, but like the cooked sushi, I think that was called tempura. I like that. When it's cooked, I'll eat it. I'm not eating raw cold salmon. I'm sorry. I'm not eating it.
Sushi is my number one favorite food. The
Dude,
dichotomy,
I got a lot of hate.
the dichotomy of TDR strikes again.
Got a lot of hate for that.
Vanderbilt also brought in Jalen Deans Vines and Jaden Leverett. I'm not going to go into detail on those guys. As I said, I don't expect them to be key contributors. So that is the roster rundown. A lot of new faces for Vanderbilt fans to learn. You will quickly become acquainted because I think this team will once again be a damn good team. This team will be better than they were last year. That's my very early hot take. I don't even know if it's a hot take. That's just my evaluation. They will be better than they were last year. The concerns about lack of shooting on the outside, those have been addressed. The concerns about lack of size, those have been addressed. And they've replaced everything they needed to replace. I was very impressed by what Mark Byington has done this offseason in the portal. Let's get to some premium message board questions that ask about basketball. I saw where we were picked 11th in the SEC for basketball. This is from GLH4VU. I saw where we were picked 11th in the SEC for basketball, but Ken Palm, Evan Maya, and Bart Torvik all have his top 25 team. Ken Palm 19, Maya 24, Torvik 21, with 5 SEC teams ahead of us: Florida, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Alabama. So do you think we're closer to 6th or closer to 11th in the league?
Sixth. I think this is a hot take. I think the SEC takes a huge step backwards from last year. I think the SEC is still going to be a good basketball conference. I think they take a massive step.
Well, it's
backwards.
impossible to take a step forward.
Yeah,
because
but I'm not even saying like a small step back, and they're still the best in the nation. I think they take a legitimate, like, huge step back. I think the Big 12 is the conference this year.
I haven't done my research enough to definitively state that, but I do think Vanderbilt's closer to 6th than they are to 11th in the conference. Even if the SEC, that's the crazy part. Last year, the SEC was the best basketball conference we have ever seen.
You could legitimately, I said this last year during basketball season, and I'll say it again. You could make the argument, and I will make the argument, that was the best top to bottom basketball conference we have ever seen.
And even the final results of the NCAA tournament would show that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the crazy part. You had the best team in the country in Florida, and it just top to bottom, what people constantly claim about SEC football is what basketball was last year.
Yeah.
From VandyFan95 says, who do you think ends up being the leading scorer for basketball this season? That's a great question.
Washington.
Jalen Washington?
No, not Washington.
I was
Sorry,
about to
Harris.
say,
Sorry, Harris.
I was
Sorry, Harris.
I was
Tyler
going to
Harris.
harshly disagree
I apologize,
with you.
Tyler Harris. Because Tyler Harris went to Washington. So that's where I got my bad. Tyler Harris.
This is a really tough question for me to answer, and I don't want to cop out. I just don't know if Kimball assumes the role that I think he's going to assume, and I wish I could have been able to watch practice, then it'll be George Kimball. But I'm not 100% sure if they're just going to give him free reign to be a volume scorer like they did Jason Edwards last year. I just don't know. So I'll go with George Kimball, but there's a lot of question marks. I do like your answer of Tyler Harris. I don't disagree with that. But Jalen Washington, bad answer.
Yeah, I go Washington, and then I saw in the camera the look you gave me, and I was like, "What's wrong about that answer?" You said Jalen Washington. I'm like, I thought I meant Tyler Harris, and I got it mixed up because he went to the University of Washington.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, if there's one player I guarantee will not be the leading scorer, it's gonna be Jalen Washington. I'll put my entire salary that Jalen Washington will not be the leading scorer.
How funny would it be if, when it's all said and done, Jalen Washington was the
I'm
number
that
one
confident that I'll
scorer?
say that it's not even funny because it's not going to be the case. He's going to be a guy that averages between 4 and 7 points at best, but he's going to be a contributor. World's Strongest Vandy fan, part of his question was, does Byington ever tighten up his rotation? Not with this roster.
TBD.
Yeah, with this roster, they're a lot deeper than they were last year. So I don't think I want to see it tightened up necessarily. They have a lot of depth this year and depth of scoring. So we'll know more. I don't think he wants to. So no, I'm going to say no.
I think if you're going to go if you're not going to go for like one or two big names, but instead you're going to go for like 6 or 7 dudes who can really like hoop, that tells me that you want that flexibility.
Well, I thought we had more basketball questions, to be honest. I think that is all of the basketball questions. That's all we have. Maybe no, we're already, how much time is this?
We're at 2 hours.
Okay, so it's not going to be a short episode, but that was all we have for basketball. To give like a quick take, because we ran over the roster, this isn't like a full season preview. We will do that probably the week before the opening game of the season. We'll do a full prediction and all that. This is an NCAA tournament team, and it's different than last year. This is the expectation baseline is what they did last year. This team, in my opinion, is going to be better than last year. I think the expectation should be probably a 7 to 8 seed is the baseline. That's where this team should be. If I had to predict right now, a 7 to 8 seed is where I see this Vanderbilt team.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it could be as high as a 5.
I think that's the potential of this team is a 4 to 5 seed. I think the lowest this team can be is a 10 seed again. Yeah. And then where I see them landing is a 7 to 8 seed.
Yeah, I agree. I think the ceiling's about 4 or 5, but I also have them about 7 or 8 if they just baseline meet expectations.
All right. Anything else you want to add on episode 337 of the Door Report?
That didn't feel like a 2-hour-long episode.
We talked a lot. All right. For myself, Will Byrum, my co-host, Trevor Hulan, this has been episode 337 of the Door Report, powered by 615 Collective.